Good evening, everyone. I want to call to order the regular meeting of Perry Municipal Authority. It is April 2nd, 2018. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Here.
Gilbert. Here. Franklin.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Ahern.
Here.
Seabolt. Here. Morrell.
Here.
Stroller.
Here.
Johnson.
Here. I do declare a quorum. Our invocation this evening is going to be by our Councilman Ahern. Would you, sir?
You bet. Let's pray tonight, Father. We come to you as we try to do each and every day to thank you for the wonderful blessings that you pour out on our individual lives. We would pray, Father, that tonight, as you do each and every time that we are here, that your presence will be palpable in this meeting tonight, that we would have open ears and sometimes just not even speak, but to listen to people so that it allows us to hear you, but also to hear the members of this community that we represent, Father. We would ask that when decisions need to be made, that we have, again, open ears, but that we would put the needs of others in front of our own individual selves. We pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. First item is consent agenda that has items A and B. Need a motion to as presented, or you want to discuss either one of those items in detail?
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, Nancy.
Goldar.
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt. Yes. Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, thank you. We'll move down to item 4, comments from those assembled. Any comments concerning the PMA this evening? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to proclamations, commendation, reports on the consent agenda, and inquiries of the governing body. Sorry, I got off the wrong line. Anyone, staff, council, have any comments or reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, presentation from Oklahoma Municipal Power Authority, the PMA's wholesale power supplier. The value of the municipally owned electric utility and concerning new and developments and issues of OMPA and the Augusta. We have 4 gentlemen here presenting OMPA this evening. Would you like to introduce them all?
Sure. I'm Dave Osborne. I'm the General Manager of OMPA. Brian Pearsall, Member Services Representative. John Van Sant, who's our CFO. And this guy needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. Drake Rice, Mr. OMPA himself.
Thank you. Please come forward.
All right. I'm going to start the presentation off, and then we'll kind of all just sort of tag team it tonight. And I'm very excited to be here to present the value of the municipally owned electric utility. I believe you all have a copy of this report with you. I just give you a little background on sort of how we came to this report and doing it is, you know, we periodically every 2 years do customer satisfaction surveys on behalf of the member utilities of OMPA. And we noticed last round of those surveys, one of the things we were seeing is sort of a declining perception of the citizens over the value of having a municipally owned utility. Just sort of year after year, just continue to decline on that. And that concerned us, and it really does. And because we all know that owning your own utility provides a lot of value, and we think it's very important for the citizens of the communities to know that. And so we have kicked off at OMPA. The board has authorized it last year, and we're kind of just getting going on just a global value of public power campaign. And Dixie serves on a committee. We're glad to have her. She's a great contributor, representatives from different cities. And we are working with a marketing firm to help us develop a sort of a public power brand for Oklahoma, but also help us in ways to bring this campaign out statewide. And it's an awareness campaign. That's really what it is. It's not, you know, I'm not trying to increase sales of some product, but it's more likely to just increase people's awareness of the value of public power in Oklahoma. And we're hoping that if we're successful, and this is going to be a multi-year campaign, you don't change people's attitudes and minds, obviously, in a brief short of time. It takes a little while. Is hopefully it'll make your jobs easier in the community. Hopefully it'll help us as well. And you know, one of the things we struggle with a lot of times, frankly, is down at the State House as well. the legislature continually tries to pass bills that would impact OMPA, which in turn impacts you. As we try to explain to folks, our relationship is very much like this. Whatever OMPA does can affect you, whatever you do can affect OMPA. And so we're hoping that this awareness campaign long-term also will maybe help us down at the Capitol as well. One of the things we also picked up as part of this campaign, and we stole this idea, blatantly stole it, at least we admit it, but sort of a similar power agency like ourselves up in northern Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota, that area up there, started doing a study similar for this for their member cities, and we just thought it was a great idea. We just loved it, and so this is part of this campaign. We did our first one a little while ago for city of Pawhuska, and they really appreciated it. And so we've got the word out. We've got a waiting list now. I think John probably has about another 4 or 5 communities that want one. Dixie got her foot in the door early and said, I want one. And the goal of it is to try to put in writing, try to combine what are the various values that it brings, because it's obviously we'll talk about numbers in here. People want numbers, they want to see dollars and cents, but it goes beyond that, and that's the other thing we wanted to capture with this study is some of those intangibles and other things that are of value that a lot of times you just sort of lose track of. You don't don't remember. So that's why we're here. We're pleased to report it. So we're gonna tag team it. So I don't know if the presentation can pop up here. There we go. Go ahead and go to the next one. So so this is a summary of the report. The benefits, like I said, are not widely known or understood. We're financial, non-financial information in here. So first conclusion is, it is a vital asset to the city of Perry. Probably not anything that surprises you, but that's what we did. In dollars and cents, what we came up with as far as a net benefit is about $337,000 a year. Now these studies are not so precise, but in general, that's about where it comes at. And really, what we're saying is, if you didn't have it, in sort of round numbers, it would increase your cost to the city overall about $337,000. So that's the number we came up with as far as the value. How we got here, of course, is we asked for a lot of information, your audits and other various financial information, services that you provide in the community, because one of the other things we mentioned, intangibles, is those donated services. A lot of times the electric staff does a lot of other things besides just electric, and there's a value to that, because again, if you didn't have them, you'd probably either not have them or be paying somebody else to provide them. We look at reliability numbers, and spoiler alert, yours are great, but things you may purchase locally. If you were served by an out-of-town provider, they're going to buy all their stuff somewhere else, and you probably buy a fair amount of stuff locally as well and support local businesses. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John Van Zant, who did a lot of the number crunching on this. He'll go through a lot of the financial reports for you.
All right. Okay, back to the presentation. Good evening, by the way, to everybody. These numbers are going to be really hard to see here. Kind of a small screen there. But the first one is about the transfers. If you go down to the third line right there, that's net operating revenues. We have the revenues up top, and they've consistently been close to $8 million a year. We're talking about just electric revenues. And then we've subtracted out the electric expenses to come to a net operating revenues for the electric department. And They were about $2.2 million in both 2015 and 16. And by the way, this chart is, I think is it page 2? Page 5. Page 5 of the report, so might be able to see it better in there. And then the transfers to the general fund were $2.6 million in 2015, and then about $1.7 million in both 2016 and 2017. Now that's the cash transfers, and we're going to get into some other transfers in some slides coming up. But that in 16 and 17, that was very close to 22% of your gross revenues, and then 67% in 2016 of your net operating revenues, and 67% of your net operating revenues in 2017. So by having this is the cash transfer, and by having your own electric system, having an electric utility, it's bringing, that's a significant portion of your total city revenues, and it goes to fund a lot of city services. So
Why
let's
Why isn't that number counted as a part of the net financial?
Well, we'll get to it. Let's wait till we get to that chart.
All right.
We'll get there. I'll show you when we get there.
337,000.
It sounds real low,
That
doesn't
sounds
it?
light.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, real light.
yeah, and it is. But we've kind of done a thought experiment on it, and when we get to it, we'll go over it. Now, flipping to the next page, this takes not just the cash transfer, but there are other transfers that are made. Donated electric service for all the city buildings, for the water and sewer, for the street lights, all that kind of thing, adds up to about $206,000. If you were served by an IOU or a co-op or something like that, the city would be paying $206,000 for the electricity. And we've also estimated labor. It's a small number, about 13,000. But that gets the transfer up to close to $2 million a year. Real significant number for the city of Perry. For instance, I was just looking through your financial statements before we came here, and your taxes amount to about $2.2 million. So it's which I assume are almost all sales taxes. $2.2 million. This is a figure that's real close to your total sales taxes, a very significant portion of the city's revenues. Now flipping to the next chart, that gives you a percentage of operating revenue. We showed on the previous page it was about 22%. That gets it up to about 25% of your operating revenues. Now, if you divide it out by all the kilowatt hours that are sold, and that's about 65 million a year, kilowatt hours that you sell, retail sales, and that's comes to about 3 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, the citizens of Perry and the Perry utility rates are higher than the IOUs. They're more comparable with the co-ops, but they are higher than the IOUs. But if you subtract out that 3 cents, that is basically funding the city services, Perry's rates are very competitive if you were to take this 3 cents out. As a matter of fact, there's a chart in the report that we didn't put in the slides, but the city of Perry's rates would be about 5% below the average of the IOU and surrounding co-ops. So take out what goes to the city to fund city services, and the rates are very competitive. Now we get to the net financial impact. We've kind of basically done a little thought experiment here, basically. You see what on the left-hand side, the left-hand column where, underneath where it says Perry. This is basically what the citizens are, and this is just rate revenue though. So it wouldn't include late fees and cutoff fees and security light fees, that kind of thing. But the rate revenue that the citizens pay to Perry is about $7.7 million a year. Now, if you were served, and these are average rates here, it's the average of the IOUs, that would be OG&E and PSO, and the surrounding co-ops. If you take their average rates and apply it to your customer base, your customers would pay about $6 million on average if they were served by one of them. So the citizens would save about $1.6 million if they were served by one of these other entities. But the lost revenues to the city is we've added the cut payment, that's the competitive utility program that Perry participates in, and they get a $20,000 check every year from OMPA. You lose that $20,000. You'd also lose the transfer of nearly $1.8 million. The donated electricity that the city takes advantage of, $206,000, plus the labor provided to the city of about $13,000. So you would lose, the city would lose about $2 million, a little over $2 million a year that it's getting from having an electric utility. So what we're saying in our little thought experiment is, yes, the citizens would save $1.6 million, but the city is using about $2 million coming in from the utility to fund all the various city services.
Bryce, let me interrupt. Does that kind of get you where we come?
Yeah, but I'm looking at that 2 million and saying we would have a police department.
That's exactly.
Yeah,
Or a
that's
fire department. I mean,
Right,
you know,
that-
I
Or a
mean,
skate park or
That's our-
swimming pool or.
That's our point. Is,
yeah, I mean, I don't think,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the net,
That number
but,
looks small, but what it is.
but I mean,
impacting
this
citizens.
other here is other communities that don't have electric, and they have, you know,
Or the
they
IOUs.
have a volunteer fire department, and they have 1 or 2 police officers,
Yeah.
and, you know, so,
and
I
so
mean,
that's-
I would still say it's, I would still say it's 2 million, but.
Well,
Yeah.
and you can, it's how you want to look at it. Our purpose of doing this is the same
Yeah, I
thing.
understand.
What if you didn't have it? And what we're really saying is if you didn't have it, you got to come up with a lot of money. You know, and so somebody may save, a few dollars on their electric bill, but now they're going to pay more
And
somewhere else.
you would come up with it with higher sales taxes.
Higher sales
Or
tax.
much higher water and sewer rates.
That's
right.
exactly
I
right.
mean, that's how those cities.
Or you would have to
Now, the
do
cities
away
that,
with
that are in a, that have huge sales tax collections are able to, are able to do it, like Enid, for instance.
Yeah,
Because you got a large, so they can do it on water and sewer, but
yeah,
it wouldn't work here.
right.
So then that's why we came up with that number. We
Yeah.
kind of look at, okay,
I
if you
got
didn't have it, you're gonna still have to raise some other money somewhere. And so it's providing that much additional benefit besides just.
And you just wouldn't be able to provide the level of services that you do now.
Exactly.
It'd be a combination probably of the two. Higher fees for a lot of different things and a whole lot less city services. So I think you make a good point. The real number's $2 million.
And safety and security.
Yes.
That's right. All right, Mr. Drake, he's gonna take over now.
You guys kind of went over, next slide, I was going to kind of talk about without your electric utility. Transfers that are not earmarked for specific services support all the city operations. And when you think of it, that's very, very important because your citizens and your community depend on those many services that you provide. Street work, those kinds of things. Because the cities are really underfunded by taxes. The only tax you can do is a sales tax. You cannot go out and tax people for anything, just sales tax. The other taxes that the citizens pay are reserved for school and county operations and to the state, of course. So, the revenue, if you didn't have it, you'd have to replace it from some other form, and that would be very, very hard. So what you would see probably is a loss of services. You know, you'd have reductions in public safety, streets, parks, all the things that we enjoy. And you've got wonderful fire service, police service, you've got nice parks, nice ball fields, those kind of things. You would not have those. On the next slide there, we talk about local control, and that's the beauty of a municipal electric system. The control rests with you folks here at the council chambers, at the table. You determine rates, transfers, planning, the whole operation. This is, the electric utility is the city's largest business, largest owned business. It's not like the water. The water is important, but it's not the revenue generator that the electric is. You have a local office for service. How many of you tried to go to the local telephone office or gas service office, you know, where do you find that? Well, you do an 800 number, okay? So you maintain a local office which allows communication with your customers, and a lot of people really enjoy that time. Decisions you make impacts all your residents. It's just not one or two, it's everyone. So they're like your citizens are your shareholders. So you're a board and you're providing services to those in your community, and that's the purpose. Let's go to the next slide, and this is something that's very, very important. And Brian and I were talking about this. It's reliability. We got two indexes there, and they're pretty telling. You have a very, very good, reliable electric system. You're to be commended on the work that's been done on your system, the maintenance that's being done, tree trimming, that is very, very important. And if you could get rid of squirrels, things would be a lot better, but you still have a few squirrels running around. But your reliability, when you look at the comparisons, there's no comparisons between the investor-owned and yourselves. And these numbers were taken right off your CUP report, which uses the same indexes that the Oklahoma Corporation Commission uses on the investor-owned utilities and the cooperatives. And you can see you're way ahead of the game on this. So you're to be commended for that. Your local employees, on the next slide there, we're talking about reliability. You have a shorter response time because they live close to your city or in your city, which and with other utilities, a lot of times one district is covering the other district, and it may take them 2 hours to get there, because there are some places like that. And most of your outages are taken care of by your local crew. You don't have to find someone from outside. If you are not municipally owned, your response times, trust me, would be longer, and you'd have to wait for crews to be dispatched from other areas. On the next slide, we talk about local purchases. That's an important aspect. As David mentioned earlier, you know, you buy a lot of stuff from your folks in town. If you were served by an out-of-town utility, they do warehousing. And so a lot of their stuff is bought and goes to a central warehouse, and they take it out of the warehouse. Your warehouse are your businesses here in town. That's where you get a lot of your supplies. According to John's numbers, it looks like about $96,000 were purchased out of the local economy. So that's another very important aspect of municipal ownership. It's controlled by you, you're here, and you buy locally. And with that, I'm going to pitch it to Mr. Ryan over here to kind of run down on the slides.
All right. So one final benefit of being a public power community is you have some say in your power supply and your wholesale power supply. And that is because you're a member of OMPA. OMPA is a cost of service organization that is governed by 11 member board of directors that are all representatives of the OMPA members. And those board of directors are elected by other representatives from the cities. Perry has very consistently had representation on that board of directors, and it's been great in the participation in future planning for our power supply. And that's a really important relationship. It allows you to really control costs and things that are coming up in the future. But it's important to understand that OMPA is not just some power company that decided to go out and try to find a bunch of customers. There's not a whole lot of people involved in municipal government that were around back when OMPA was created, so people kind of forget sometimes. But OMPA was created by the municipals that it serves. Early 80s, they were having trouble controlling their costs with other power suppliers. They got together and they said, we want a little bit more control over what's going on. Got legislation through the state legislature, was created in 81, began serving in 85. Perry came on in 1994 and has hovered around about the 5th or 6th biggest member in OMPA since then. But I like this line, OMPA is its members and its members are OMPA. They're one and the same. Without you guys, we wouldn't exist. And along with being an OMPA member comes some services, which are on the next slide. One of them that we've already talked about is the CUP program, which you guys just did an interim review with and got that next $20,000. In addition to that, there's also points that you guys can earn off of your winter bills for meeting extra criteria, which you have done. But Dixie does a good job of going above and beyond on that, and you can also save some money there that way. Perry has been continuously certified since 2005 in that. The DEEP program has been really active up here. That's the Demand Energy Efficiency Program. This is a rebate program for commercial and industrial projects that trim their peak demand. And it's 100% funded by OMPA. In fact, Ditch Witch got the largest DEEP rebate in the history of the program. $126,000 back in 2011. So it's been a good way that some of your businesses have been able to benefit from that. It's hopefully been goodwill for the city and those businesses. Residential energy audits, we do these. We'll come up and free to your customers, go through the house, tell them how they can make it more efficient. And then there's things like the economic development rate and the value of public power campaign, which Dave already spoke about. And with that, we'll take questions.
You bet we will. But, you know, I hope that this provided some value to you. Hope you find the report useful. As we said early on and throughout it, you know, there's some dollars and cents in there. Hopefully we showed that the citizens are better off with municipal electric utility than without it. But there's those intangibles, and that's one of the things that I know I, over the years, have learned to appreciate is the local control. You know, you can set your policies, you're closer to the customers. You know, as we talked to Dixie earlier, you know, a lot of people still come in and pay bills in person. You don't get that, you know, if their main offices are in Oklahoma City or someplace else. And so we think that the local relationship is extremely important. It goes beyond just the dollars and cents. And you control your future with it, you really do. You have to say so. For cities or towns that, for whatever reason, elected to sell it off and just get a small franchise fee every year, I think they probably realize it's a big mistake, because that little 3% franchise fee every year doesn't pay for anything. You know, so it provides a lot. So with that, be happy to try to answer any questions, and even anything else besides just a report. If you have questions about anything else dealing with OMPA, we got all the people here to answer.
May I get a photograph of y'all, Amy Wheatley and the mayor,
Sure. But
and city manager? Maybe Wheatley.
Maybe.
It wasn't baby.
I was.
Maybe Wheatley. Where do you want it, Lori, back
Right
here?
up here.
Sorry.
Are we going to move the podium, or are we going there, Gordon?
No, leave the podium there because they were actually,
Stand on your tiptoes.
Yeah, we can't see you with top of us, man.
Not you,
I'm
man.
taking that personally.
Take it for Brian.
perfect. It's just really good. Got that City of Perry thing in the back. Thank you.
All right, well,
Filled up my front page. Well,
That easy right there, huh?
You can take it easy on us?
Well, you have this report now, please read it, and now when somebody in the community says something to you about municipal ownership, you'll be able to rattle off all the benefits, right?
I will say one thing, that you brought up many good points tonight, but one important factor of this here in Perry is the fact that we have Brian in the electric department that we have. Social media has taken over so much negative a lot of times. But our department heads and our departments get a lot of praise, all of them really, but the electric department, we are without power very seldom, and it's not long.
Right.
So I would like to say thank you to you and your guys, because you make this work.
Yeah, that's a great point, that the number up, and that's what we said, because otherwise, they're dispatching somebody out of, it could be a city, 80 miles away or something, and you gotta sit around and wait for them, because they're gonna stop 5 other places on the way up, to serve you. In the meantime, you're missing that OU football game or something, or OSU football game. I want to cover bases. Tulsa University football game.
it's fine for me.
So,
You had it right the first time.
I would like to offer a comment here that Bryce and I can share. Folks, without OMPA, we would have been up a world of hurt. Both, back in the early 90s, they helped finance the rebuilding of this system. It would have been down on it for years before that. In 2002, we had an ice storm. We were back online faster than nearly anybody around because of these folks. So hey, anytime you see them, tip of the hat to them. Thank you.
They sold us power at a 50% discount, the next year 40%
40,
discount.
30, 20.
35, 30, I think. I mean, there were,
40, 30,
well, you would
20,
know.
20, 10 was the original agreement. 40, 30, 20, 15, 15,
Right.
15
Right.
was the final.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
And so we took that difference and made the electric capital fund with it. And that's then what rebuilt the system.
And that's what you people have lived off of for the last.
And that's what
several
we've
years.
lived off, borrowed off of, replenished. I mean, it's been, but they're the ones, there's nobody else that was offering to sell us power at those prices back then. Because they were trying to induce us to join, but it was also, they could get the rate, they could get the power at that cost and would deliver it to us at that cost. So it was pretty amazing. Really helped us out, and that's probably one of the reasons, other than our crew, why we have such good reliability. And Meredith, you have to chime in that as far as employment goes, these guys, the few gentlemen that we have in the electric department, as far as the number of folks, it's amazing as
What they
compared.
accomplish
Yeah, as compared to
Per
other
person.
communities.
at
It's,
the
it-
same size or bigger,
yeah,
yes,
for the dollars that we put out, that's also amazing.
absolutely.
It's a good department.
Woo, we love you all. Woo!
Well, and getting back to, because I wasn't around when that deal was done.
Yeah.
It was definitely a Dawson deal, but it's a great deal. But it shows the benefit of being with an organization of other municipalities, because they understand your issues. Our board understands what you deal with, so therefore they're willing to do deals like that because they want to help everybody out. So anyway.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dana.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kumbaya moment here.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll wait for the parade to start outside here.
I'm not gonna follow that. Set a high bar.
Thank you. And is there any other new business that you brought before the authority this evening? Any new business?
Motion to adjourn? Second.
Oh.
Nope.
What?
Do you have any business?
Nope.
Oh,
Good. Roll call, please. She just had a hiccup, I think.
Sorry.
Calderon.
yes?
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt. Yes. Morrow.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on now to the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Perry. It is April 2nd, 2018. Roll call, please.
Calderon.
Here.
Gilbert. Here. Franklin.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Ahern.
Here.
Seabolt. Here. Morrow.
Here.
Stroller.
Here.
Johnson.
Here. Item is a consent agenda, and for the first time that I can remember, we've only got one item on the consent agenda in my printing. So,
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Calderon.
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Any comments from those assembled concerning the agenda this evening? Any comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, proclamation, commendation, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, our city manager's report. Sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I have just a few comments. Wanted to make certain that the residents knew of our spring cleanup, which is Saturday, April 21st from 8 a.m. till noon. There's details in your utility bill, also details online. Also wanted to point that our April edition of the Envoy is now out online on the website, also on Facebook, at the library. I think you'll find it has some really good writing by our Public Information Officer, Mr. Tyson Davis. So thank you, Tyson, I appreciate it. Any questions? Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to item 7. Consider approval of City Council Procedure Book for future adoption. Background, as part of the training, OMAG requests the City Council adopt City Council Procedure Book and use it to govern their meetings and their conduct. The book. So you see it in the attachment. This is for consideration,
No.
perusing, comment, and get back to it. It shouldn't take over a couple of days to read. It's so enticing. It is important.
I think we found somebody that can spend more words than Bryce.
High compliment there.
I don't
Very
know.
high.
That's pretty. Any discussions? Please remove it from your packet and read it over, and we'll discuss it later. We're doing away with 8. 8 was tabled by request of the Planning Commission. Number 9, I really didn't intend this to be on the agenda, but I just had a phone call with Bryce, and you know how he is. He feels like he's got direction, he jumps right on it. But it has to do with discussing setting downtown parking limits. And that's a topic I think we need to take up at some point, and prevents Jim from parking out in front of his business all day. But it is a discussion item, it is not an action item, it's not anything other than you need to consider it, we need to look at it. Some businesses are having issues with some service providers taking up all the parking. So it's just, I think, a discussion item we need to look at some point. Any comments? Don't throw me out yet, it's not on the ledger. Okay, we'll move on. You want to discuss it tonight, or we can hold it and discuss it later? Thank you. Item 10, consider appointment of planning commission for the commission seat. This is a term of Larry Belk, a commission member expired January 2018. He does want to be reappointed. So do we have any recommendations or appointments? Motion to reseat him, or, someone else?
Motion to reseat.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Roll call, Dixie.
Colner.
Yes.
Gilbreath.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item 11, consider appointments to the Building Code Board of Appeals. The Board of Appeals is, that board hears appeals on the decision of the building officials. Randy Parrish and Dave Fleming are currently serving. Their terms have expired. They do wish to be reassigned.
Motion to reappoint.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Colner.
Yes.
Gilbreath.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Item 12, consider approval of the final payment of $94,281 to Urban Contractors LLC. Total contract was for $1,322,839.97 for a citywide sanitary sewer capital improvement project phase 2. Accept project so long and pursuant to plans and specifications, begin a term of the maintenance bond. That's what will happen when we make this final payment. The maintenance bond goes into effect. Do I have a motion? Or discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, Dixie.
Colner.
Yes.
Gilbreath.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Item 13, approved drainage easement from J.R. and Michelle Skidell. Schedule. Don't keep saying it, I get confused.
Skip. You got it.
On 1120 North 7th Street and authorize the filing of a construction work to be completed. They have a drainage issue coming across the front of their lawn at that intersection. We have a surface drain on the street instead of a pipe underneath, so it goes right across their yard. That ditch gets way out and we need to fix it. So this will do that, hopefully.
One question I had in the plans that I saw back attached, talk about removing the sidewalk. It doesn't say, replace it or who the cost,
They don't want it replaced.
they don't?
They do not.
So we're just gonna take,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve drainage easement.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, Dixie.
Colner.
Yes.
Gilbreath.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell. Stroller. Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Item 14, consider approval of payment of invoice in the amount of $12,580 to CEC Corporation for FAA grant administration, engineering plans and specifications, and contract administration and inspection services for the rehabilitation portion of the parallel taxiway project phase 2 at the Perry Municipal Airport. This is progressive. Or final?
These are finals. There are two invoices, this one and the next agenda item, that somehow we did not get passed to us. And didn't really know about it until they were wanting to know where their money was, and so, here you go.
This is a final invoice on this item. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Do we have a second? Roll call, Dixie.
Colner.
Yes.
Gilbreath.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. Item 15, consider approval of payment of final invoice in the amount of $111,774.75 to Evans and Associates for construction services for the rehabilitation portion of parallel taxiway project phase 2 at the Perry Municipal Airport. This pays the contractor. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Question? Roll call, Dixie.
Colern.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item 16, new business. Any new business need to be brought before the council this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 17, consider convening into executive session for the purpose of, 1, confidential communication between the governing body, the city attorney concerning certain claims against the Perry Memorial Hospital Authority, which the city may need to contractually cover the payment in order to keep the proposed sublease in full force and effect, as disclosure may seriously impair the ability of the governing body to process claims in public interest pursuant to 25 OS 307B4 and 2. And number 2, conferring on a matter pertaining to economic development, City of Perry, to discuss a business proposal and offer to sell and or lease certain real property owned by the city in order to create employment, wages, benefits, sales tax for the Perry community, as disclosure will interfere with the development and implementation of the proposal pursuant to 25 West 307C10.
Motion to convene executive session.
Second.
Thank you.
Colern.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Need a motion to reconvene?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Goldar.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. We need a motion pertaining to the economic development.
I would suggest to authorize the mayor to execute an economic development agreement / lease agreement with Seth Wadley, one of his corporations, to lease the old Vance facility to him for the economic development of the community. And so long as it meets city attorney, city manager, and chief financial officer approval, authorize the mayor to execute it.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Goldar.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Any other action to be taken? See none?
Motion adjourned.
Second. Goldar.
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
We haven't taken up item 19.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was there another one? I apologize.
Item 19.
I thought it was.
Oh, no, I think we did that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we just did that, we're good.
Yeah.
Then we got a motion and a second to adjourn?
Okay. I'll move to Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
You can't take back my motion.